welcome back for the Great Ace Attorney Adventures, where last time we began the final trial of the game, and it's off to a bit of a rocky start so far, but we're hoping it's going to get better, so let's just keep on moving along. Order, please. Let us resume proceedings. Witnesses, you will now retake the stand. Our favorite geriatric duo, the robbers, the fruit robbers, as it were, because they both have, I think, one had a pear and the other had an apple. I presume you heard the defense counsel's summation examination. Actually, everyone on this stand right now just loves to eat. We got one eating a pear, one eating an apple, and one eating a perpetually refilling newspaper cup of fish and chips.
Oh yeah, Governor. I did, see?
Mr. and Mrs. Skulkin.
God, blimey.
This is going to be hard work. Earlier in this trial, you gave the following testimony about your actions after you entered Windbanks. However, that was a lie! In another news, the sky is blue. You brothers!
God blimey.
On the night in question, you rifled through the items on the victim's counter.
We never done this short. How'd you figure that out, see?
Great. Congratulations, you done screwed each other over. You might want to get in sync next time you take the stand. You will now give formal testimony once again. You will tell the court precisely what happened on the night in question, and this time you will tell the truth. Each lie that passes your lips serves to increase the severity of your punishment. And that, gentlemen, may deal a crushing blow to your chances of ever seeing the light of day again. A thought worth pondering, perhaps.
Say no more, Gov. We hear ya. We'll blab, we'll squeak, we'll peach.
No, you won't, because if you would, then I have no reason to be here. My entire job is to tear your testimony to shreds, so let's see how wrong you are this time.
Alright, we did knock a few things over, but we weren't rifling for nothing. It was when we heard the gunshot, see? Made us both jump and all that stuff went flying. Lummy, it didn't give me a fright. We were thinking the shooter would come out the door and get us next. We stuck everything back where he found it and scarped right straight into him in the block. We couldn't have shot the pawnbroker, see? We never even had a chance, did we?
Okay. So you admit to the defense's accusation. You did indeed ransack Mr. Windbank's countertop on the night in question.
Not ransack, Governor, no. That's right, Nash, that's right. It's more like we tidied up, yeah. Sorry.
By their own admission, these brothers entered the pawnbrokery under dubious circumstances. However, they panicked and fled on hearing the gunshot, having first made good their mess.
The way you say it, we hardly sound like rough shit at all. We don't, Nash, we don't. Can't make us sound a bit more cutthroat?
It can't just be coincidence that these men showed up at Windbanks that night. There's more to their testimony than meets the eye, I'm sure of it. There always is, and now it's our job to ferret it out. One step at a time. Okay, knock a few things over. Yep, was when we heard the gunshot, made us both jump, and all that stuff went flying. Be more specific, please. What stuff went flying? So what you're saying is, the sound of the gunshot shocked you so much, you knocked all those things off the counter?
Well, it took one of us that much, yeah. This bag of nerves needed to learn to keep his shirt on, see? Look, he was loud, alright. Blimey, me dead granny would have woken up with that bang. Big brother over here screamed like a bloomin' baby and fell over on the counter. He knocked over little books, a candlestick, and some skull whatnot. That got tangled up in some marionette, and when what knocked over a picture frame, what knocked them skills on the floor.
You really mastered working quietly, then.
What a racket! Me granny would have been scared back into a grave at a clatter like that.
So in short, the gunshot took you by surprise.
And then some. I mean, it was quite as a mouse.
Oh, hold it. You got something to say, Mr. Fish and Chips?
Excuse me.
Inspector Gregson, you have something to add?
Like I keep saying, I don't appreciate being lumped in with these scoundrels.
I didn't lump you in. What do you... You seemed to react just now to what Mr. Slocum said. Did it make you think of something?
It's probably nothing, of course. I wouldn't even bother to mention it, only, well, the fact is, cases don't get solved if you ignore the little details.
How about you just tell us what's on your mind?
As you know, we brought these fellows into the yard for questioning last night, and the statement they gave then told a slightly different story to what they're saying now.
Yeah, color me surprised.
Did it? You claimed you heard the victim shout something out before the gunshot.
Oh?
Might have. It'll ring a bell now you mention it.
Ah, how worthless you are. Granted, it's only a minor detail. No, that could be a major detail. I kind of feeling like perhaps you've been a bit sloppy with testimony here, eh, fellas? If I discover the witness's testimony that has been any more sloppy than it has hitherto been proven to be, I shall be forced to bring the very harshest punishment to bear against them.
Easy, easy. We'll get it right this time.
Yeah, third time's the charm.
That's it, yep, it's all coming back to me now.
Then speak. Supplement your testimony with whatever details have miraculously returned to your questionable minds.
Right you are, Gub.
Alright, what details did you just conveniently, this is what the gun should be here to voice yelling out, give me that gun. The bloat what owned the place was, okay, I need to translate this to regular human speak. The pawnbroker was holding a gun, so he should have just fired instead of yelling at the girl. Wait, hold on, okay, so what do we need to show here? Because we can show either this photo, which proves that he wasn't, that obviously Gina was the one with the gun, but not him. Or we can show the photo of the crime scene, which shows that he wasn't holding, probably this one, right? Because this shows that at the time of his death, he didn't have a weapon on him, right? Well, it probably needs to be this one that we'll show. So you're saying that on the night in question, the victim, Mr. Windbag, was wielding a gun. Is that correct?
That's it, Gub. You got the picture. He has, Nash, he has. No question.
And yet, photographic evidence obtained immediately after the incident clearly shows that Mr. Windbag was not holding a firearm of any description.
You what, mate? Gordon Bennett ain't right.
There can be no question that the victim's revolver was used in the incident. I would remind the court that Mr. Windbag's gun was found at the scene. Not only was it identified as the murder weapon, but it was found in the accused's hand. Yeah, being in her hand doesn't prove that she shot it. Like, doesn't prove that she was actually the one who pulled the trigger.
Yeah, at Motul will use the victim's own gun to finish him off. Give me that gun! Bam!
You two realize that you're on, okay, not on trial yet, but you're gonna be on trial soon. This is a very serious matter here, not time for one of your little charades. Stay exactly where you are, right there! If the crime had taken place as you so colorfully described in your testimony, it would give rise to an undeniable and significant inconsistency in the final moment you just acted out. Goodness, are you sure, counsel? You intrigue me, my learned friend, but let's see evidence to support your claim. Okay, I'll just show the autopsy report, because according to them, proves the demonstration inconsistency, because according to the autopsy report, it says that he was shot in the back, right? This is not the autopsy report. Where is it? Where's the goddamn thing? Here it is, okay. It says that he was shot in the back, right? Yeah, okay. Blood entered the body from the back on a gently rising downward trajectory. Except that according to what you said, or what you just demonstrated, he would have had been shot in the front. Which obviously was not what happened. According to the testimony, the witness claims to have heard a shout of "Give me that gun," followed by the gunshot. Indeed, with the two events happening almost simultaneously, or so we would like to believe. Yes, that's right. Now, if the testimony is true, it would mean that at the moment of death, the victim and his attacker would have been facing each other. However, in the autopsy report, it clearly states that the victim died instantly after being shot from behind. So, as I stated before, there is an undeniable inconsistency in our testimony, Mr. and Mr. Skulkin.
It is, Nash, it is. When he was shot that night, the shopkeeper had a gun in his hand. We saw our own bleeding eyes.
Did I hear you right just now? You actually saw Mr. Windbag holding a gun?
Something like that might have slipped out.
Ladies and gentlemen, you've all just heard the admission by these two witnesses that on the night in question, they actually saw, with their own eyes, the victim wielding a gun, which can only mean that despite their testimony to the contrary, the Skulkin brothers must have encountered the victim in person! These two are incredibly easy to crack. Order. Witnesses, explain yourselves at once.
Well, the thing is, we weren't supposed to,
It would seem that my previous warning fell on deaf ears. I made it quite clear that false witnesses would be the death of you. Am I to understand that you replaced the untruths of your original testimony with renewed lies?
Yeah, we're so sorry, Governor. Truth is, we, cut it out, Nash, cut it out. If we blab now, you know what it'll do to us.
He? Who are they talking about? Well, they said that they had a third. They said that they were part of a trio, right? The three brothers or whatever. But there's only two of them there, so there must be. So one of them. There has to be a third brother somewhere. And by the way, still have heard nothing about those two mysterious people from the fourth case. Let me make your position here perfectly clear. You will talk. There is no other option available to you.
Brad, come on, the game's up. But you'll have our gut for goddess.
In case it hasn't quite sunk in yet, no matter how hard you try to hide it, the truth will come out. On the night in question, it is now apparent that you brothers met face to face with the victim. I demand that you testify again to explain the precise circumstances under which this meeting took place.
Well, do we have to?
On pain of death. I suggest you make yourselves fully aware that this is your very last chance to tell the truth. Witness testimony. Here we go. Well, you've lied at least, like, 6 million times up until this point, so hey, maybe this time you'll actually tell the truth.
Alright, so we just got inside the gap and he decided running from where the geezer showed his mug. Give me that gun, he bellowed, and he flew at us like he was possessed. I thought we'd had it, see? For an old geezer, the bloke was strong as an ox. He chucked me over the counter. I pulled my gun on him, and then legged it through that door into the back room. We never had nothing to do with killing him. That's what happened, I swear.
So let me get this straight. Your gun flew into the back room, meaning that there was a potential for there to be not only a third firearm, because we know that you must have both been armed with the gun since we know that one of you had the gun which was used to shoot Airlock Sholmes. So not only a third gun, but potentially a third bullet somewhere on the scene, which could have been what actually killed the pawnbroker. And it could make my theory from the last episode, where it turns out that he fired a shot in defense of his store, and that was what was actually, and that's what explained the discharge from the barrel or the cylinder or whatever, instead of Gina actually pulling the trigger. It could make the theory even more valid.
Well, yeah. Sorry.
Well, we find ourselves in an interesting juncture. This changes matters considerably.
But, honest governor, this time.
Yeah, it's not like you said, you know, at a certain point, after you tell one lie, and you're like, okay, I'll be honest this time, and then you tell another lie, and they're like, okay, but this time I'll be honest, and then you tell another lie. Eventually, it's you saying, I'll be honest this time, stops carrying any weight to it whatsoever. Very well, counsel for the defense, you may proceed with the cross-examination. Yes, my lord, this is it. The moment I've been waiting for. I like how he still looks just as insane with that face, even all these, like, 5 cases later. Okay, so let me get to the part where you said the thing about the gun sliding into the back room, because that is the most important part of this. No, wait, that's not what that was not. I didn't want to. I went one too far. God damn it. You see what nothing to do with it? I wanted to press the one where he said about how the thing went into the back room.
Nothing. The old geezer went and shut himself in the back room, didn't he? Locked it was from the inside. We know us because we tried to open it. Well, it's a decent door, that one. Good and strong. Wouldn't budge an inch.
So in the end, the situation remains unchanged. Inside the storeroom with the pawnbroker, there was only one other person. The sole person who could possibly have shot the victim, the accused Miss Gina Lestrade. It would indeed appear so. What say you to that, counsel? I don't know. Was there anyone else apart from Gina who could have possibly shot Mr. Winbank? Yeah, there could have been.
Mr. Stoken. What? What's that look for?
From the moment you admitted that you'd encountered the victim face-to-face that night, the course of this trial changed completely.
It did?
What is your point, my learned friend? The question we must answer is who could have shot Mr. Windbag, and it is the belief of the defense that the defendant is not the only possible answer at all. You have my attention. In that case, let us return to this plan of the premises. The victim was killed in the storeroom, which was locked from the inside. Those are the facts. So pray, what other possible answer to the question of who shot the man could there be? Counsel, you must now provide the answers to the court in respect of 2 conundrums. 2, my lord? Twice as many chances to be right, maybe? Indeed, namely, from what location did the culprit shoot the victim? And furthermore, where was the victim at the time? Well, obviously the victim was inside the locked room, and they could have been shot from outside through the little flap in the door, which is what I've been saying since square one.
Are you alright, Bruno?
I'm not entirely sure, but there's one thing I'm sure about. If I can prove that there's a credible new alternative to what happened, it would change Gina's prospects hugely. So now, time for some clarity. Show the court on this plan the answers to the questions posed by his lordship. If you believe someone else could have killed the victim, indicate from where that person could have fired the gun. He could have fired them from outside the door right here. The defense believes that the culprit could have shot the victim from this location here. And in answer to the second question, assuming the culprit fired from the location indicated, where was the victim at the time? Victim would have had to be on the other side of the wall. Or the door. The culprit shot the victim from outside the storeroom. Continue. Mr. Windbag died instantly from a bullet wound in his back. Looking at the stain of the blood on the storeroom floor, it doesn't appear that the body was moved after death, which tells us that he was almost certainly shot while he was in the storeroom. However, the crucial point is where was the shooter when the fatal bullet was fired? So you are adamant that the shot was fired from outside the storeroom? Well, according to the Skulkin brothers' earlier testimony, if this man had run away through the door, I would have to assume that the door was open at the time. Ah. It was at precisely that moment that when the victim was fleeing for his life, that these brothers had the perfect opportunity to shoot the man in the back once he was inside the storeroom. Oh, that was not... So, my thought process was that they could have shot him through the open flap in the door, not that the door would have been open at the time. That was not... That seems to be a lot more likely of a solution here.
Come to think of it, do you remember what the prosecutor said at the start of the trial? Poor man. Shot while he was running as fast as he could to safety.
Ah, of course. He would have been leaning forward as he was running away. So even if the bullet was fired horizontally, it would still have entered his body on an upward trajectory.
So the culprit isn't necessarily someone shorter than Mr. Windbag,
But it could be, because one of the two people on the stand right now is very much shorter than Mr. Windbag. These seem like very pointless things to bring up. You're going about this in a very this whole thing seems to be moving about in a very roundabout way. Like there seem to be easier ways in which we can arrive at the conclusion to where we're trying to reach. I'm sure my learned friend can't have forgotten that the storeroom door was found closed and locked from the inside. You claim the victim was shot as he fled into the room. Do you also claim his corpse was dexterous enough to turn the key in the lock? Well, no, because the person who would have locked it would have obviously been Gina, since she had to get in there.
Or someone else locked the door.
Yes, there is someone else who could have locked the storeroom door. Is that so? Very well then, counsel. Present your hypothesis to the court. In the scenario just described, the defense's assertion is that the victim was shot from outside the storeroom. In which case, who shot and locked that would be Gina. Obviously, the person who locked the door was the only other person inside the storeroom at the time. The defendant is Gina Lestrade. That's absurd. You're suggesting that the accused deliberately engineered the sealed room? And for what possible reason? Such actions would only serve to tighten the noose around her neck. I am inclined to agree, I must say. Well, counsel? Yes, that's a tricky one, isn't it? Half-baked notions have no place in my courtroom, counsel. Remember that, please.
But of course Ginny would have locked the door. It almost goes without saying, doesn't it?
It does?
Well, if I was Ginny in that situation, I know I would have locked the door as quickly as I could. I mean, those two burglars had just fired a gun in her direction, hadn't they?
Oh yes, obviously. Before the two brothers arrived, Mr. Lestrade and Mr. Windbag were in the storeroom together. Now, I don't know what went on between them at that time, but at some point, Mr. Windbag must have heard the intruders breaking into his shop and left the storeroom.
Intruders, eh? That's us, bruv.
If your theory is correct, that would leave the accused alone in the storeroom. Yes, it would. Then, probably only moments later, the victim fled back to the storeroom hoping to escape danger. Hit in the back by the bullet, Mr. Windbag fell to the floor where he was just inside the storeroom. And what we have to ask ourselves now is, what would the defendant have done in that moment?
I see where we're going with this.
Outside the storeroom was a terrifying killer who had just murdered Mr. Windbag. As soon as that thought struck Miss Lestrade, she slammed the door shut and locked it, in order to save her own life.
Hold it! But I mean, we ain't the ones who done it.
I don't believe they are. They seem like way too... They seem way too normal for them to be the final culprit of the game. So I don't believe that they would have been the ones to kill him. I think it's far more likely that he was killed by someone shooting through the hole in the because there's a giant flap, like a mail slot in the door, so it seems far more likely to me. In fact, it's probably going to end up being Eggs Benedict, or whatever his real name is. That's blatantly untrue. I know for a fact that you would, because before my own eyes, you shot Mr. Sherlock Holmes. There's only one logical conclusion here. Mr. and Mr. Skulkin, your brothers had every opportunity to have been the true perpetrators of Mr. Windbag's murder. Yeah, I don't buy that. I don't believe that they're the ones who did it. That'd be way too anticlimactic for a final showdown.
That was amazing, Runo. All the members of the jury seem to be firmly on your side now.
I know, first time ever and probably the last.
Well, I think you've done it. Surely they'll have to give a verdict of not...
Oh, an admirable effort, my learned friend. What's this now? He's laughing? You find the situation amusing, Lord Van Zeeks? I myself find the defense's argument most persuasive. Here's number 4. I dare say, such chicanery is the bread and butter of the street performers in your provincial eastern nation, but such blatantly malicious conjuring tricks amount to nothing more than inexcusable pettifoggery here. What? The hypothesis you put forward so ostensibly credibly cannot and will not stand. Because, you see, it contains a fatal flaw.
Oh, a fatal flaw?
Do you mean to tell me that you're unaware of your logic's failing?
I say, Lord Van Zeeks, might be an idea to explain this badly conjuring trick or wherever it is to the troops on the ground, eh?
The fatal flaw of my learned friend's argument is really very simple to understand. Assuming you're not too dim-witted to count bullets. Well, he just said he threw his gun into the room, so there has to be a third bullet. There could be a third bullet somewhere.
Oh dear. You noticed that?
There's 3 guns in the shop, so... What's everyone talking about? Counsel. Oh, yes, sir. Tell the court, how many bullets were found at the scene of the crime? 2 bullets. Correct. The first which hit the victim in the back, ending his life, and the second, which struck the detective, Mr. Sherlock Holmes, on his arrival at the scene. Indeed. The defense presented the second bullet. The bullet which injured Mr. Holmes appears to have passed through his body to strike the calendar. Your lordship's understanding is correct. Furthermore, we know there are 2 firearms involved in the incident. The revolver belonging to the victim, Mr. Witt. Did you just miss the part where he said that he and the Skulking Brothers revolver? The evidence shows the single. Did he not say he threw his gun into the room, meaning that there is a third gun on the premises? Did we all just miss that? Indeed, it does. A single bullet from each. Now then, my learned friend. You yourself told the court only moments ago that these 2 brothers shot Mr. Sherlock Holmes right before your eyes. Yes, I did.
Oh my goodness, I think you'll find that if the single bullet that was fired from the brother's gun hit Mr. Holmes, it means...
Okay, I might have misread it, but remember when I said that I wanted to press the thing about him sliding the gun into the room and then I pressed the statement beyond it by mistake? Was he not saying that he slid his gun into the storeroom? Meaning that there would be a third gun and a third bullet on the scene. Why would they only have 1 gun between the 2 of them? Yes, this Nipponese street performer presented an ostensibly credible argument. However, it was never anything more than a diversionary trick with no hope of standing up to scrutiny. Ah! Well, ah! Order. Oh, great, now, great. Sorry, janitor, I feel like we should just maybe confiscate his bottles before he comes into the courtroom so that the poor janitor doesn't have to clean it up. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if the janitor burst into one of these cases and just beats him to death with the stupid bottle. Like this, why do you make me clean up your mess every single time? Lord Van Zeeks, stop punishing our poor janitors. But this cult needs to open its eyes. The accused Miss Gina Lestrade is no ordinary little girl. Despite her young years, she can regrettably no longer be described as... I'm pretty sure she's not 18 years old. Yeah, literally by legal definition, she is a juvenile. You're not a you can't be tried as an, well, I mean, okay, under extraordinary circumstances, I guess you technically can be tried as an adult, but legally, she's not an adult. She's 17 years old. Nice try, buddy. You're not getting away with this one. She's not gonna be tried as an adult. No, the person in the dock was far from a law-abiding citizen. She's a past riddled with criminal conduct. Okay, great, she's a thief. That doesn't mean she needs to be tried as an adult for murder that she didn't commit. What are you talking about? The truth is, the accused broke into the pawnbrokery on the night in question with loathsome intent. As we can see beyond this, See beyond doubt in this print, which depicts her threatening the victim with the murder weapon. Well, she's not doing that. She's pointing it in the air. She's not pointing it at him. She's pointing it in the air. And I have here in my possession one more. Don't you think if she wanted to threaten him, she would point it at him? I have here in my possession one more piece of evidence the prosecution wishes to present. That disc. And if he's gonna say, you can't prove that she wasn't pointing it at him, I said, no, but you can't prove that she was, but we do have proof that she was pointing in the air at one point, so the facts are a bit more closer to being on my side than yours. I'll be taking that, whatever it is, if Miguel is down to the yard, thank you very much. Yes, that music box disc, Mrs. The very day before the hateful murder of Mr. Winbank, the accused attempted to make off with this article, which clearly doesn't belong to her, and with none of the subtlety of a pickpocket, I might add, but by brute force and brazen impudence. Oh wait! Oh, we can check the blood stain. We can check who the blood belongs to now. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, wait a minute, buddy. We can check who the blood belongs to. No. Shut up. Nothing else matters. Give me the music disc. Give me the music disc. Give me the music disc. Give me the music disc.
Lord Van Zeeks,
Inspector Gregson, what? Yes, Inspector?
We had a meeting yesterday at the yard with the prosecution service, and I think it was agreed that the disc wouldn't be used as evidence.
Oh, they know something's up. What's this all about? Why is the inspector acting strangely? Because he knows that it's gonna harm the prosecution's case. That's the first time he said anything to Van Zeeks at all. I am unaware of any such meeting.
But those were the instructions right from the top. The government bigwigs are insistent.
Inspector, I am the prosecutor, and I alone determine how to present my case. Your warning is noted. Thank you. The prosecution wishes to proceed with submitting this as disc as evidence, my lord. Indeed, bailiff. Okay, so now, if you don't mind me doing so, I'm gonna go ahead and see if Iris can use her little scanny thing, or not scanny thing, the puff cloud hairdryer launcher thing to check whose blood this belongs to.
This is blood.
Yes, you're right, but just a small smear, but definitely blood. Actually, I feel as though I might have noticed that before.
Then it's my time to shine again. Thought I'd be waiting forever. Alright, hold still with that disc, Bruno.
Can we get this done quickly, Iris?
In a flash.
It's green. It's green. Ooh, a lovely bright shade again. It's green, and you know what else had green blood? The green blood that was around the green blood that was around the bullet that was in the calendar.
What is it?
It's just that green. It's not the first time we've seen that color, is it? There we go. There we go. Okay. So now, let's just review this one more time to make sure everyone's on the same page here. Okay. So we have one blood color which we know belongs to Thrice Fired Mason. That's on the ticket, the pawnbroker's ticket. We have another which we know that belongs to belongs to freaking, I know the name's right there, but I'm gonna call him Windbag because you know. Then we have another blood sample, the green blood sample, which appears. Okay, right here we go. I was wondering where we were missing one. We have a green blood stain here, and we have a green blood stain there. Something seems amiss here, wouldn't you say, friends? Because Airlock Sholmes wouldn't have ever had this in his possession. I mean, well, he had it in his possession momentarily, but he never bled on it. So something seems amiss here, my friends. Something seems very amiss here. The prosecution has established the accused's motive, opportunity, and baseness of character. There is nothing more to add. Oh, there is something more to add. All right, let me show you a little thing called blood samples. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I await your informed decisions and rest my case. You know what? It's probably gonna be Egg Benedict, right? Because Benedict said he wanted the music disc for something, and maybe he snuck into the shop. That's probably what it was. That's probably what it was. Because they're saying like, oh, he's gonna kill us or whatever, right? And they said that there were three brothers, three of the Skulkin brothers or whatever. So Eggs Benedict, probably, that's such a stupid name, but it's hilarious. Probably came into the shop with them, and then as I said, what happened yesterday? He shot the guy with his gun, which the bullet struck the counter. Because I wasn't paying that much attention. I don't know if the bullet was still inside Sholmes' body or not when he was shot. I don't know if they had to take it out of him, but I know they had to undergo surgery. So it might very well be a different bullet that's in that counter, because the blood clearly does not belong to Airlock Sholmes, but it might belong to Eggs Benedict, because Eggs Benedict had the music box disc on him, and the bullet would have been fired at someone. whatever. Clearly, he shot the gun at whatever intruder came into the shop. And if we're to be believed that there's some other mysterious person that's pulling their strings, it's got to be Eggs Benedict, because he's the only person in this case that we don't know the identity of so far, and he's the only other person that makes sense to have been intruding upon the shop because he needed to get his hands on that music disc. I don't believe it. I had the jury on my side for once, for all 5 minutes.
Oh dear, that wasn't even for 5 minutes, Runo. Wonder if I might say something at this point.
Proceed, Mr. Foreman.
Been stumbling about in a bit of a fog up to now, if truth be told, but all of a sudden, the answer is badly obvious to me and my men. There's only one thing for it.
Oh no! Very well. The court will hear from the jury. Ladies and gentlemen, you will present your leanings as to the defendant's culpability.
Guilty.
Yeah, give me a minute.
Guilty.
Give me a minute, I'll flip you all back over to the other side. We have a consensus among the jury, it seems. When you have eliminated the impossible, whatever. Oh. Seen that one before. Has Godot entered the chat? I see there's a running thread between prosecutors who tend to bring in some form of liquid into the courtroom with them.
That's my line. I wrote that for Hurley. Oh, how dare he use it against us?
Don't worry, Iris, I don't think we're finished yet. There's still more to this case than we realize. There must be, because there's only one thing I'm absolutely certain of. Gina didn't shoot Mr. Windbag. That's beyond any doubt. Very well. We will proceed with the second summation examination of the day. Mr. Foreman, are you and the other jurors ready?
Garrett Up Squadron is primed and ready for action, sir.
Very good. So, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will each explain on what grounds you have now determined the defendant to be guilty. And please try a little harder than you did last time, because that last one was just embarrassing for all of you. Alright.
Once a rogue, always a rogue, I say. Different breed to us law-abiding citizens.
Okay.
And only 2 bullets were found at this scene. I would say the whole case is done and dusted.
Well, I think it's guaranteed there's gonna be a third bullet somewhere at this point.
You don't need a stereoscope to see the truth here. Every which way you look at it, it was that pickpocket. I never imagined that simple operation would cause me such grief.
Oh! God damn it, I just dropped my controller. I dropped my controller in my excitement. Is he gonna be the doctor? Is he gonna be the doctor that operated on airlock Sholmes? Because that'd be extremely coincidental, but it'd also be very helpful for our case. I'm gonna ask him about that. Because that's an odd thing to bring up, just a random operation. I am ballistics expert. I have seen many shootings. There is nothing I do not know about guns. It would seem there was little remaining room for doubt.
Have to admit, I was rather bowled over by the argument put it forward by that chap in black. But when it fell apart like a house of cards, I saw that I'd jolly well been hoodwinked. Well, no more! The whole courtroom is turning against me. It's not fair! Iris, that prosecutor's being mean. Just because Ginny's done some things she shouldn't have done in the past doesn't make her a murderer.
When a 10-year-old has more brain cells than anyone else in the courtroom. Allow me to savor this fruity vintage while I savor the spectacle of your fruitless debate on the matter. That's 5, by the way. Here's to the truth coming out, eventually. That's enough preamble. Counsel, proceed with the summation examination. Yes, my lord. Alright. Let's try this again, shall we? Jury examination. The defense's rebuttal. Before we do anything else, I need to know for sure if I'm just imagining that you might be- Don't go- Nope, back. If you might be the one who operated on Mr. Airlock Sholmes. Would you please stop muttering about things that have nothing to do with this trial, sir? The defendant's life is on the line here.
Well, the thing is, I couldn't really say that it has nothing to do with this trial, to be honest.
Huh?
I mean, there's no question that the man was shot, but the bullet has simply vanished from his stomach. It's quite inexplicable, don't you think?
I almost don't want to ask, but this surgery you've been muttering on about all this time, you were operating on...
What was the fellow's name now?
Yep, called it. Called it. Airlock Sholmes. Airlock Sholmes by any chance?
Yes, good lord. It was that airlock fellow.
What? You're the surgeon that operated on Mr. Sholmes? Because of course he is.
That's right, using the very latest anesthesia techniques, I might add. It was a fairly major op, I can tell you.
This is crazy!
Let me see. The fellow was brought in not long after midnight, if I remember correctly. They said he'd been shot by some criminal or other, so I opened him up like a shot. But the funny thing is, I went over his inside with a fine-tooth comb and couldn't find the bullet anywhere, meaning that there's a third bullet somewhere on the scene. So I'm afraid I had to throw up my hands and just stitch the fella back up. I hate to state the obvious, but... Yes? Surely that's because the bullet is still at the scene of the shooting! The counsel for the defense is correct. As is clearly shown in this photographic print, the bullet that... I don't... I mean, that blood's clearly not his, though. That blood's clearly not his. Then exited his body and lodged into the shop wall while the calendar was hanging by the door. I think you'll find it's really quite simple if you just consider the problem three-dimensionally.
Ah, who do you think I am, son?
Well, juror number 4 is about the best I can do.
As soon as I saw the wound to the man's stomach, I flipped him over.
Like a pancake? Are you saying you checked his back?
Of course I did. And there wasn't a trace of injury.
No sign of bullet left the body at all. Yup. Oh! He still... So we took it out somewhere. So wait, did Airlock take the bullet out of his own body? What?
That's the point. The only logical conclusion was that the bullet was still somewhere inside the man's innards.
So I was correct then. I was 100% correct. The bullet wasn't the one that was shot at... The bullet wasn't the one that was shot at Airlock Sholmes. I called it.
I'm still none the wiser for now. How many times do I have to say it?
So he's got to be hiding it somewhere. I don't know why, but he's hiding it somewhere.
It's someone please solve the mystery.
It's almost as much of a mystery how this jury is put together. Yeah, good, exactly, okay. Wait, hold it, wait. Mystery, where's the next one? Oh, right, okay, because the other guy said he was an expert on the, right. Hey, you, wake up. These two statements clearly contradict the idea that all I do is pit jurors against each other.
Oh, a ballistics expert.
Pitting. On the night in question, Mr. Sholmes was shot by one of the Skulkin brothers, but since there was no sign of an exit wound on his back, we must assume the bullet didn't pass through him. However, no bullet was found lodged in Mr. Sholmes' body either. Furthermore, a bullet was found lodged in the wall of the shop where Mr. Sholmes was shot. Juror number 6. Hello, my name is Villain. Pleased to meet you. There's apparent contradiction in the facts that are so clearly troubling juror number 4. Are you able to explain the mystery? I have seen very similar situation in Motherland. It was night, there was blizzard. I was running away along mountain road in freezing cold. Golly. The snow was piling high on both sides of the road. It was very narrow and dangerous. My pursuers had hunting rifles and they were on dog sleds. Mental note, don't ask too many questions. I was shot from behind and I fell down in snow. And this situation was very similar to what I hear today from Doctor. They could not find bullet in my body. And no sign of, how do you say, exit wound. Then, where did the bullet go? Bullet never hit me.
Well, if it never hit you, then why'd you fall down?
Bullet hit frozen wall of ice very close to my side. What? One small piece. Wait! He has that bag. It hit the bag, right? The bag. Oh, okay. He hit the bag, right? That was... where's the, we don't have a high def picture of him. We can't view his character model, but he has that satchel, right? The satchel that he puts over himself. It must have blocked the bullet. It must, I guarantee you, we check his satchel and we find the bullet inside there. We check the satchel, we find the bullet inside there.
Good gracious.
Of course, piece of ice quickly melted inside me, and that is solution to mystery of disappearing bullet.
But that doesn't answer the question at all.
Yes, it does.
The shooting happened in a pawnbroker's shop. And not some snowy mountain road in the country.
Yeah, but he does wear a satchel. He has that satchel that he puts over himself. It must have hit that. Just an idea, but we might not be looking at exactly the same scenario here.
Bruno, where exactly was Hurley shot again?
According to the report, in his stomach, sort of around this area, I think.
Well, that's precisely where he always wears a little pouch in his belt.
A pouch? Actually, I might have noticed something like that.
Yeah, a pouch. It's where he keeps 3 glass vials of very dangerous chemicals he uses in investigations.
What? Really? Doctor, where is the pouch Mr. Sholmes was wearing?
Huh? Well, the fellow had nothing like that on his person when he arrived at the hospital, as far as I remember.
If I may. Lord Van Zeeks? Well, I realize it was forbidden for the prosecution to interject during a summation examination. I should inform the defense that I have the pouch in question in the antechamber outside the courtroom. Sorry? Okay, well then go get it. Someone go get it. As I understand it, when the police arrived on the scene and found Mr. Sholmes injured, they removed the pouch in order to assess the wound.
Ah, thank goodness.
Since then, it has been in my safekeeping, along with all other evidence relating to the case. I can personally vouch for the fact that it has not been touched since the incident occurred. Very well. Or extremely unconventional during a summation examination. I must demand the prosecution present the item in question with all speed.
I see. So this is the pouch worn by Mr. Sholmes on the night in question, is it? Look at that! One of the files is broken and the leather around it is scorched black! It's almost as if the file exploded! Exploded? So, that night, the bullet from the Skulkin brothers' gun struck Mr. Sholmes' pouch.
And it was the glass file exploding that caused the fellow's injury.
This bullet did not penetrate victim, it was deflected into wall of shop. A delightfully complex aroma. Well, it would appear one mystery has been solved, at least. Though it has no bearing on the truth of this. Are you kidding me? The bungling and burgling brothers shot the detective, and the accused shot the pawnbroker. The pertinent facts of the case remain unaltered.
But at least the mystery is solved. I can sleep easy tonight. Thank you, young man.
Thank you very much. Glad I could help. Due to its bearing on the conundrum just solved, the court will sequester the scruffy pouch as evidence.
Whose pouch isn't scruffy?
Okay, step one. I gotta find the bullet. It's gotta be in there somewhere. No way it reflected onto the damn wall. It's gotta be in here somewhere. Where's the damn bullet? Where is the goddamn bullet? Can we... Does this open? Can I open this up? It's really scorched badly just here.
Oh, the strap is broken. Look.
This must be where the bullet hit then.
Let me see.
Yep, there it is. There's the bullet. There's the third bullet. Hey, remember 30 seconds ago, Francis, when you were talking about how I can't count? Well, guess what? I told you there was a third bullet. I goddamn told you there was a third bullet. Iris, look! Behind where the broken file was. Do you see it?
Ah, that's the Skulkin brothers' bullet.
What a stroke of luck that hit his pouch. Don't even get me started on the strokes of luck in this game. Don't worry, I'll cover it all when we get to the credits. This is an amazing discovery. What this means is there were 3 bullets fired at Windbanks that night.
We found exactly what the juror was talking about. The third bullet.
It's time to press that juror again, I think. With pleasure. Okay. Let's move. Now, for the summation examination. Yep. Please, my lord, a little more time. After all, there's the new piece of evidence. It could be a valuable clue. There's still a way to turn this around. Somehow, I'm sure of it. Okay, it was the maid, right? Who said, yeah, only 2 bullets found on the scene. Can I present something to you, or do I have to, oh, I have to press you again, right? I can't just present evidence to you. Is the number of bullets that has you convinced?
Only 2 bullets were fired, and the 2 guns that fired them have been examined by the police. When the parlor maid asks me how many are invited for dinner, I always tell her to count the table settings.
Well, that's logical, I suppose.
Although,
yes?
sometimes after dining, crockery does go missing. 1 or 2 guests rather like the fine china.
Does your employee dine with thieves?
So I suppose if there was another bullet somewhere of which we were unaware, I'd have to reconsider my position.
A third bullet somewhere in the scene, could that be possible? I can prove it. Allow me to show you then the third bullet. Here it is. We discovered it just now. Yes, on the night in question in Windbag's pawnbroker, another bullet was fired. What is this new trickery, you Nipponese conjurer? Where did you find that bullet? It was lodged inside Mr. Sholmes' pouch. What? This pouch was removed from around Mr. Sholmes' waist before he was taken to the hospital, and since then it has been touched by no one. Do you mean to say the shot fired by the Skulkin brothers that night? Yes, as your lordship has surmised, it hit this pouch. But that makes no sense whatsoever. We already know the whereabouts of the bullet fired at Mr. Sholmes. It's clearly visible. No, because that's not his blood. That's clearly not his blood. Ah! The 2 guns from the scene have already been submitted into the court record as evidence. Yes, that of Mr. Windbank, and that belonging to the Skulkin brothers. An examination of both guns revealed that only a single bullet had been fired from each one.
But that must mean...
That's right. We now know that on the night in question, 3 bullets were fired. However, only 2 bullets were fired from the guns recovered from the crime scene, and then also that incontrovertible inconsistency is somehow explained. We cannot and must not pass judgment. Order, order, order. While this submission examination remains incomplete, the court has been presented with new facts. Facts that would appear to shake the very foundation upon which this case against the defendant has been built. As is my prerogative in this situation, I hereby temporarily suspend the summation examination.
By Jupiter!
What? Bailiff, bring the witnesses back to the stand at once. So we didn't get them anywhere? Seriously? I'm not allowed to freaking change their really? Okay. Hello, Dumb and Dumber. Welcome back to the stand. Not pleased to see ya. Were you listening to those proceedings while the defense carried out the summation examination?
We was, Governor, we was.
Perhaps we can dispense with the tedious preamble. Simply answer this one question. A third bullet has been identified at the scene of the crime. What do you make of that?
Make of it, Gov?
Is it one of yours?
Go blimey, go normally, not chance.
In that case, did you have an accomplice?
What? What? Never. It was just the two of us.
No, you said there were 3 of you earlier. The first thing you told us when you got on the scene was that there were 3 of you. How soon we forget, Polsoki? Only 2 of the bullets from the crime scene originated from the firearms we have in evidence. The third bullet was fired from another gun. Where is it?
Lonely. That's a head scratcher.
Counsel for the defense. Yes? I should like to hear your thoughts regarding these new developments. The third bullet, and the mysterious missing firearm from whence it came. Thinking back over all the testimony we've heard and all the evidence we've seen, I think I'm starting to form a picture of what really happened that night. My lord, I think it's clear that what this third bullet tells us about the Shogun brothers is that they had a secret accomplice. On that night at Windbank's Pawnbrokery, the brothers must have been working with a third man. The witnesses are clearly doing their best to cover up the existence of this accomplice, but the evidence all points to the fact that there was someone else present, someone carrying a gun!
Objection!
An accomplice, you say? Pig's will. These protracted proceedings have already forced us to endure 2 summation examinations. Yet in all that time, there has been not a murmur of a third man, if this apparently wraith-like being exists. The court must be shown hard evidence, without it this fantasy will be crushed. How about the fact that there's an unidentifiable blood sample at the crime scene? 2 of them, in fact. One on the music disc that the man was trying to obtain, and one on around the third bullet, which we now can no longer identify the origin of. The prosecution demands answers on 2 counts. Firstly, proof, evidence that this accomplice was ever at the scene of the crime. And secondly, the identity of the spurious character. The Skulkins are lying, I know that. But how can I ascertain the identity of the person they're hiding? Well, counsel, I'm supposed to prove the existence of this accomplice, and reveal the person's identity even. In response to the prosecution's demands, my lord, the defense is ready to present answers. The defense is ready. I believe I can provide all the answers to the prosecution demands. So, my Nipponese friend, despite the swimming eyes, you seem to think you have something to say. This promises to be interesting. I have to push forward now. There's no other option. I need to use every single piece of evidence available to me if it will make a difference. In that case, counsel, I would ask you to present the evidence without delay. On the night in question, in the moments leading up to the death of the victim, what proof have you that there was a third intruder presented? I have the blood samples.
Take that!
The evidence is right here, in this portfolio. By Jove, that portfolio again, is it? Do you expect the court to rifle through your papers itself? Be more specific. You claim one of these blood samples proves the presence of the third intruder? Well, which one is it? This one.
Take that!
What am I looking at here? There appears to be some green paint or such like around the bullet hole in the middle of the calendar. That's a bloodstain, my lord. A bloodstain? Green blood? Curious even for you. Is the court to understand that the intruder was some unhuman creature? It's something developed by Mr. Ellark Sholmes.
By the great detective?
New invention! Stop! No European story! Stop!
It's this, you see. It doesn't have a name yet, though. This fogger sprays a chemical that reacts with the different elements in the people's blood to change its color.
Different elements of people's blood?
Yes, everyone's blood is slightly different, you see, because it's made up of different elements. So by seeing what color it changes to, you can tell in a flash whose blood it is. Ooh, that brings a whole extra dimension to looking at blood.
Of which you are apparently very fascinated by. As an example, this one shows the blood of a victim, Mr. Windbank. Ah, striking blue. Yes, so you see the green color of this bloodstain on the calendar shows that someone else was shot in the main part of the shop. Now hold fire there, young man. Could be from some unrelated incident, couldn't it? No, it's not unrelated. The date showing on the calendar is the date on which Mr. Windbank was killed. By golly. Therefore, we can assume that whoever was shot on the same day.
Whose blood is it?
Well, the Skulkin brothers on the stand don't appear to be suffering from any gunshot injuries. Which means that it must be the blood of somebody else. The third intruder, in fact.
Whose identity the court is still waiting to hear. You can't delay this any longer, my learned friend. Who is this alleged third intruder?
That would be, for as dumb as the name is, Mr. Where the hell is he? Oh, right here. Eggs Benedict.
Take that!
The man's name is Eggs Benedict. Eggs Benedict? What are you talking about, Counsel? He paid a visit to Windbank's pawnbrokery on the... I like the idea that these people have no idea who he is, and you just say the name Eggert Benedict, and they're like, are you messing with me? Are you kidding right now? Like, are you telling the funny jokes? Surely no one's named Eggert Benedict. That can't be right.
When the accused attempted to deceive the pawnbroker into releasing this article into her possession.
That's right. The man identified by the defense, Mr. Eggert Benedict, then attempted to take the article from the defendant by force. Inspector Gregson was there at the time and can attest to what happened. In the end, it was the inspector himself who took the disc.
Can you cooperate the account, Inspector?
Yes, my lord. It's more or less what happened. And in the interest of being thorough, I asked Windbank for a print showing the fellow. Taken from one of his red-handed recorder gubbies.
That's him talking to Mr. Windbag that morning.
And you claim this man is the brother's accomplice?
Well, Mr. Skulkin?
Never seen Geezer before in my life. On my life, God, on my life. Never seen him.
You just admitted earlier that there's someone you are terrified of pissing off. You also admitted that you also been proven to have been lying every single time up until this point. So what will we get when we put two and two together? We get that you're not above lying, and that you are terrified of saying anything that will even remotely incriminate him. So, let's connect the dots here, friends. There are obviously... Oh, also the fact that you said there was a third person you're working with. Clearly you're working together.
Well, somewhat unsurprisingly, it appears our witnesses disagree with the assertion. I'm sure your lordship recalls my learned Nipponese friend's actual assertion, which was that he could prove the identity of the alleged accomplice.
Yes, and I can.
Then show us the evidence. I agree. We must see proof that the clean-cut gentleman in the photograph is the filthy criminal that you say he is.
This is the last piece of evidence. I've had a feeling that something has been missing in this trial from the very start, but now I'm going to drag it kicking and screaming into the courtroom.
Are you ready to present your answer to the court then, counsel?
Yes, my lord. The defense will present the evidence now. Proof that the man pictured in this photograph was in fact the person struck by the third bullet.
Take that!
The proof is right here, in this portfolio.
Good gracious, counsel. Does that portfolio contain the answers to every question posed? I see you share my interest in claret-colored liquids, my Nipponese friend. But enough is enough. The court demands to see further evidence. Which blood sample proves the man you identified was the one shot by the third bullet on the scene of the crime?
That would be this one. The only other green one there. Also the only other one which is yet to be identified. As I mentioned before, on the afternoon of the day in question, the defendant attempted, deceitfully admittedly, to reclaim this disc from Windbags.
Which is when the aforementioned Eggert Benedict appeared on the scene, I believe. This man then attempted to purloin the article from the defendant's possession, no?
That's correct, my lord. I myself was present at the time. It was following this that a minor incident occurred. Being a music box disc, it has countless small but sharp metal protrusions over its surface. Those protrusions cause Mr. Benedict's finger to bleed, and the resulting smear of blood is still visible on the disc now.
Goodness, a bloodstain, is it?
My assistant and I have just analyzed the bloodstain here in this very courtroom.
Using my trusty fogger gun.
Yes, and we added the results to this portfolio.
It's green.
It's exactly the same color as the blood around the calendar. Stop! The evidence is conclusive. This man calling himself Mr. Eggert Benedict, who was in Windbags earlier in the day, is the accomplice who was present at the scene of the crime that same night.
So there was someone else there. And those two brothers now, they're sweating buckets. Oi, who are you talking about? It's boiling in here.
My lord! Mr. Egbert Benedict should be summoned to the courtroom to testify.
It would certainly seem that we can ill afford to ignore the gentleman's apparent presence.
Objection!
This has gone on long enough now. This flagrant ignorance of the mechanics of law. Sherlock Holmes, you say? Yes, I've heard the name. The protagonist in a series of short stories for the vulgar classes. A god of detection or some such. And now you employ chemical substances devised by this fantastical persona in the highest court in the land. Do you expect us to take you seriously? The samples made by this plaything are not fit to be called evidence.
Well, okay, well, how about we have the inventor of the device itself demonstrate to you the science she used to construct it and how it mechanically actually works?
So the bloodstain turned a shade of green. What of it? Here's to you successfully proving that no other blood in the world would turn the same color.
Well...
No, not this again. And pray, do not even think of suggesting that we should take Mr. Sholmes' word for it.
I knew it would come to this. Please stop moving forward. Of course, Mr. Sholmes' invention isn't going to be recognized by any official body, but what other choice did I have?
I'm just remembering what Father Christmas over there said before. About how he was temporarily suspending the summation examination. In other words... The examination isn't over yet, is it?
Good grief. What did you just say, young girl?
And in a summation examination, the decision as to whether or not the trial continues is in the hands of the 6 jurors, isn't it? So the way I see it, it doesn't matter what certain other people think of Hurley's invention, at least, not for now.
Yes, she's right.
Young lady, you have quite the devious mind.
It really just comes down to one thing. Whether these ladies and gentlemen of the jury are convinced by what you say, Bruno. Is that about right, would you say?
Unbelievable. Mr. Sholmes' partner is a force to be reckoned with.
Iris Wilson, sharpshooter.
After that, shrewd proceeds of the situation from an entirely unexpected source. It must be acknowledged that the previous submission examination has yet to reach its conclusion. This is absurd. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the court now looks to you for the final leadings in this matter. As proud citizens of Her Majesty's Britain, I am sure you will come to fair and just conclusions. So then, state your final decisions in turn, please.
Guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty. Guilty.
Guilty.
Not guilty.
Two call guilty and 4 call not guilty. Such is the outcome of the summation examination. My lord, with all due respect, this is an outrage. The prosecution refuses to accept this decision. On what grounds? If these jurors are persuaded by some half-baked concoction devised by a pretender to wield police work, and they are too ignorant to be trusted with the judgment of anyone's guilt.
Again, there's science going into the device she concocted. All she has to do is just show it to you.
I'm sorry, Lord Van Zeeks, but the outcome of the summation examination cannot be ignored. This trial will continue.
Hey, remember in the 3rd chapter when they threw the jury out the window and just called it quits on the trial anyway? Yeah, well.
Nevertheless, we found ourselves in a rather awkward situation. The defense has very reasonably requested a subpoena of a new witness. But sadly, I fear that will be impossible.
What?
The name the gentleman gave for himself, Egbert Benedict, is quite clearly false.
Okay, so then just talk to the 2 meatheads over there and be like, hey, you're going to be sent to prison for the rest of your lives if you don't tell us exactly who you're working for right goddamn now and give us his real name. Just when I managed to prove the man that was there that night.
What was that, please? Who spoke?
It was me, my lord.
Juror number 5?
What have you to say, madam?
If possible. Inspector?
Me, ma'am.
I wonder if you might show the photographic print to me again. For the one on which the gentleman is shown.
Right, yes, this one you mean, Mr. Benedict?
Yes, there's no doubt in my mind. Juror number 5, you don't mean to say you know this man? Yes, Oh my gosh. I swear to God, this jury is insane. Every jury in this goddamn game is is just rigged to the brim. Every single jury is rigged with people that could not possibly be more... We have, on this jury, we have the person from the last case with whom we essentially helped fix his marriage. We have a person who's an expert in stereoscopic techniques. We have a person who is an expert in ballistic technology, who might have also been the person from the second case. And we have a person who knows the potential culprit. And we have the person who operated on Mr. Shomes. What is this amalgamation of people? What is this? This is the largest string of coincidences I think I may have ever seen. Like, what is going on right now? What?
No. Good gracious.
I'm gobsmacked by this.
Order, order, order. Jordan number 5, how on earth?
I'm a communications officer, stop! As we can clearly see, the gentleman in the photograph is stop! Also a communications officer, stop! He works in my office, stop! Yep, that would have been great to know that earlier. A very talented operator, in fact, stop! He should be in the communications station now, stop! Tap away in the telegraph, stop! This doesn't seem right somehow, I can't put a finger on it, but it doesn't feel right.
I suppose we all imagined the accomplice would be some sort of hardened criminal. It's a bit unexpected to find that he has a respectable job by day, whatever he gets up to at night.
Yes, I suppose that's it. I suppose why I felt something was wrong.
The gentleman is at London's communication station. We should be able to subpoena him within the hour. Lord Van Zeeks, if you please.
Yes, my lord.
Make the necessary arrangements with all haste.
As your lordship bids.
The court will recess for 1 hour. When the new witness arrives, we shall reconvene to hear the gentleman's testimony. Inspector Gregson?
Yes, my lord.
I should like to hear from you specifically about events at the pawnbrokery on the day in question. Come to my chambers during the recess.
Yes, sir, my lord.
Very well. Court is adjourned until 1:40 p.m.
Not usually that specific with times. Okay, wow. I mean, maybe now that we have the culprit on the stand, or at least now that we're gonna have the culprit on the stand, it might feel more like a proper finale, but up until this point, I gotta be honest, this hasn't really felt like the epic finale it probably should. It feels like we're kind of going all over the place in terms of a very roundabout way of reaching conclusions, and I just can't get over the fact that this jury is stacked with people who are directly impacted. Like, the whole point of the jury is it's supposed to be, like, just your average everyday people, not literally people who are intrinsically linked to the outcome of the case. Alright, well, let's hope that in the final moments the case is going to kick it up to 11. That'll be it for now. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for next time to catch you all tomorrow for some more of the Great Ace Attorney Adventures. Goodbye!